Thank you for joining us this morning. First of all, it's wonderful to be here today with everybody. I'm feeling strong. I hope you all are too. My name is Saul, and I work with the StrongBlock marketing team. I'm here today with the man of the hour, our CEO and founder, David Moss, for this very highly anticipated AMA. So, David, before we begin today, can you just tell us what's on your mind?
Well, let's see. A lot. I just want to say again, the same thing. Thanks for having me here today. Really appreciate this. It's a pleasure to do this kind of speaking. I did a lot of it, and we'll talk about that in just a sec. But and it's always a pleasure to talk with you, Saul. You've been on the team for a while, and actually, before you joined the team, you were doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes. And so you and I get to talk probably a lot more on Zoom and other places, and even in person than other people get to do that. So again, thanks for putting this together. I know that Robert is over monitoring the chats and looking at some other things today, so it's really great to be here. And I see there are a ton of people here. Really nice to see that. It makes me remember a lot of the stuff that I used to do. I've done literally dozens of conferences where I've been a keynote speaker or a panelist, and just not in blockchain but in other areas. But I've done that all over the world, and some of the people that I've met are actually now either working with us or advisors to it, or just friends, people that I talk with. And so it's really it's one of those things that I realize how much I miss, because I would travel. I think there was one year, 2019, I think I probably, oh my gosh, I think I was in 11 countries and spoke with all sorts of different audiences, and it was just a pleasure to do that. And I'm kind of a little bit of a stage guy anyway. I probably, some of you know, I mean, I think some of you probably read some of the background stuff, but before I got into tech, I was a professional musician, and I did guitar and vocals, and I was also the leader of the band, kind of like the leader of the band right now, and get up there and play and sing, and did over 1,000 gigs all over the United States and Canada. Didn't really do too much outside of that, but I was able to really learn a lot about just being up there and talking with people, and I really enjoy it. Like I said, I kind of miss it. So, but I wanted to take a little bit of a serious note here. Just when we're starting, is that it's scary out there right now. We all know that the world and the markets are affected by what's going on in Russia and Ukraine, and there's just general financial strain, and there's been financial strain through COVID, and man, it's just kind of gotten topsy-turvy. I never would have imagined that I would have been traveling this little. I mean, that was one of the things that I really prided myself on, was being kind of a road warrior and getting out there and meeting new people and talking. And the funny thing is that while that's exhausting, it's way more exhausting just having to deal with all the constant changes and all of the division over all of that stuff. And I can't change any of that. So for me, the best thing I can do is just be here, talk with you, and I can also be working with the StrongBlock team and working on the next stuff that we're doing, and just be strong for you guys and for you guys, gals, everybody out there, and just make sure that we are moving forward and doing the things that we need to do. And so it's just really great to have this opportunity to talk today. So that's pretty much it. I just wanted to say thank you for being here today. Really appreciate it. And I also just really appreciate all of you being part of the community and really working on making this a place where, unlike some of the things in crypto, I mean, we really focus on building something here that's going to be very lasting. And I'll be talking about that a bit more. I see some of the questions that are coming in, or the questions that we have that we voted on. I appreciate everybody doing that as well. So, I think that's what was on my mind. And I was thinking about when I got up this morning, watched the sunrise, and so let's get started with some of the questions.
Oh, David, thank you for sharing with us. I think I'm not alone in saying that we're also grateful for you as well. Let's go ahead and jump into the questions here. So our first question today comes from Celebration. Could you please explain what market need the strong chain will solve? There's obviously a lot of competition for adoption. What will be special about strong chain versus the others? My concern is that the competition is fierce. I'm guessing, given all the other very established alternatives, strong chain would have to really do something special to gain market exposure.
Well, Celebration, it's a great question. And I'm very happy that it's actually the first question. I'm going to try not to go into a big long answer for everything for all the questions. I think this one will probably get a little bit more attention, and there's some related questions to it. But first, it's a product first chain. It's for the strong community, and then it will be built out for many others. Now, what does that mean? Well, we mostly have dApp transactions on the Ethereum mainnet right now, but we're looking at StrongBlock actually having more transactions than most other chains have. I mean, I keep track of all this kind of stuff. I helped build a number of the chains out there. And if you keep track of something like gas guzzlers, and when I go to gas guzzlers, I kind of laugh because it's like, well, yes, we're taking up all this gas. Well, it's the amount of transactions. StrongBlock is typically one of the top dApps out there on the Ethereum mainnet, right below OpenSea, which is now doing a big transition because 80% of the transactions on it are for fraudulent NFTs. And what I like to think of is that this is a community that created a building. We have this great building that we all go in and out of, and it's got floors, and it's got offices, and it's got some shops below, and there's some stuff going on, but it's built on other people's land. I talked about that in the last AMA. And building it on other people's lands means that we're on the Ethereum mainnet, so we've got to play by the Ethereum mainnet rules, which also includes, fairly high gas fees, and we've all suffered with that. I mean, I'm just as much of a person that has to deal with that. But if you think about that building, well, we're building it on other people's lands. What if we had our own land? What if we had a place where we could move that building and then also put other buildings and infrastructure and, kind of build up a city and bring other people into the city and have different things that we could do there? And we're talking about, like gaming and metaverse and NFTs and all the other stuff that we've already been involved in. We were one of the first companies out there that did anything with NFTs, especially with NFTs integrating into our project. And, we like to think of ourselves as innovators and pioneers. And so we are starting with a chain. It's important for us to start with a chain that's purpose-built for the community, tuned towards sustainability. I want to make sure I go slow there. I have a tendency to get excited and talk really fast. But once we do that, we do a purpose-built chain for the community, tuned towards sustainability, but then we can welcome projects to run on the chain with fees going to the community. There are other things that we can do that are a lot easier on that. Node migration, node transfer, a node marketplace. That's actually something, we've got a lot of these things that are already built, but what's the gas cost going to be? How do we move people around? With lower gas fees, the gas fees that we are there coming back to the community, there's all sorts of things that we can do. And having our own chain gets us closer, the community closer to sustainability. This isn't just some little dApp that, the little dApp that could. This is something that's gotten pretty big. And so it'll be so much easier for us to expand into short and long-term features. And if we simply stayed on Ethereum or even moved to someone else's layer 2, we just couldn't do that stuff. We're already constrained to a certain extent by that. So it's one of the main ways we can work to lower the dependencies of new people coming into the project, which is something that we talk a lot about. And that's one of the things that's, very interesting. You think about, I'll probably talk about this a little bit more. You go into things like the mortgage industry or restaurants or anything like that. If new people don't walk through the door, it goes away. We have a bit of that issue, but not as much as you think. And it's one of those things that with a new chain, we can really work towards having other ways that keep everything going. And we don't have to reinvent or compete blockchain. We've been around, we've done this. Blockchain is a pretty, open, new, the word is nascent, right? It's NASCENT. It's an early place still. A lot of us think, wow, it's been around forever and it's doing all these things. It's like, there's a lot of stuff. We spent this last couple of weeks, we have Phantom up and running, and we haven't taken it live yet. Not sure if you guys understand how some of these things work, but let me tell you, a blockchain like the Ethereum mainnet has I'm going to get really technical here for just a sec. It has about 1 terabyte of data that carries around if you want to have a full copy of the blockchain. Phantom is already up to 2.5 terabytes. That makes it kind of untenable as you're growing. It's pretty bulky, and it's been around a lot less time. And so building that out and keeping all the nodes running and having that platform to do it, it gets pretty complicated. And so what we want to do is make sure that this is really designed for growth. And so we love Phantom. We love Polygon. We love those things. They're doing such extraordinary things. And yet there's so much room for all of this out there. And the best thing we can do is start off with a community-built, purpose-driven chain that allows us to do that. And yeah, we've actually got a fair amount of engineering experience. I'm as geeky as they come as far as being able to build that stuff. I was always the reliable person that people went to get tech built. So, long answer to the question. The short answer is the market exposure. We're going to start with the community that we already have, which is already really big and really and growing and vibrant. And we're going to build a purpose-driven place for us to take the building, put it onto a city, build that city out, bring other people in. And if we didn't, we couldn't have done this without everybody, already participating. And so, anyway, that's kind of that's the. Like I said, I want to make sure that you understand that. That's probably the most important question that was asked. But my gosh, they're all great questions coming up here. So anyway, Saul, that's where I am right now. What else is up?
Wow, great answer. A lot to unpack there. Thank you, David. Moving quickly along, our next question from Nodes King 2021. Is StrongChain going to be open source like AVAX, Phantom, Matic, and others? This way other projects can build their projects on the platform and use the native token for transaction fees.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what I was just talking about. And I think that's one of the, it's nice to see how the questions are arranged here. I think Saul kind of went through and kind of moved some things around and kind of got them organized here. So yes, we're architecting StrongChain as an EVM compatible layer 2. Do we be our own native chain, or do we make ourselves our own native chain? We've worked a lot. I'm not sure if I've probably said this before in different things, but if you're familiar with a project called Wax built on EOSIO. Why did they build on EOSIO, and why are they set it up that way? I was an advisor, and I worked closely with them and our team did, several of our team members did, to build out their whole thing for guilds and a large amount of transactions and everything else. But one of the things that's very interesting about Wax is that, well, they've got a lot of different tokens. They're doing them, they create them on the EOSIO platform, and that works really well. They've been able to do that fairly well. But one of the things that we've noticed that we want to be able to do is we want to build out an EVM compatible layer 2 with a bridge to the Ethereum mainnet, bridges to Polygon, FTM. We've already built several of those bridges. I think we build a lot of stuff, and a lot of that stuff doesn't necessarily make it out there. It's like we do a lot of prototypes. If you've probably seen the thing about with Edison, which he kind of exaggerated. Thomas Edison, the great inventor, would take pictures of himself working late into the night. Well, he had a bunch of people working late into the night for him, and I'm fortunate enough to have some extraordinary, brilliant people, especially Brian Abramson, our CTO, who's just absolutely amazing on doing this stuff. And we build out a lot of stuff for going to open source, going to things like Ethereum layer, EVM compatible layer 2. We don't want to just come up with our own chain, but there will be things that we want to put in there for governance and other things like that. And so it will be, there will be native tokens. There will also be compatibility. There'll be bridges. A lot of this stuff is already built. We actually have a couple of different working prototypes of blockchains already, and we're testing those out as, again, parallel with other this stuff. So it's yeah, we're going to look for other projects to build on there. And when we say other projects, we're also looking at applications. Primarily, we're looking at bridges between the different projects, the different protocols, the different things like AVAX and Phantom and Polygon and everything, things like that. But we're also looking at having applications be resident directly on us, including, we're going to start off building our own stuff on there. That opens up a whole new economic layer for all sorts of other people to participate that you couldn't participate in before. You don't get to participate in validators. It's really expensive to be a validator right now. You don't get a lot from being a validator. That's not a lot of money in it, and you got to have a lot of friends, or you got to have a massive amount of tokens delegated to you. We don't like that. I mean, basically, when I was looking at the EOS mainnet going live, I looked around and there were 300 plus different delegates for people wanting to be validators on the EOS mainnet, but there were only 21 slots that really paid anything that would be worth their while. And I just thought, man, it would be really nice if everybody could participate here and it wasn't about who had the most tokens. And so we've kept that philosophy in mind for quite a while. I mean, my gosh, it's June this year, it'll be 4 years. Is it 4 years since that happened? So there's a lot of stuff that we've just been dreaming about doing. So anyway, so I need to keep giving it back to you here because you've listened to me before. I can go on and on and on. I'm the Energizer Bunny. So next question, please.
That's true, David, but we all love listening to you. That's why it was so highly requested.
Okay.
Thank you for the insight into StrongChain. It's very exciting. I'm sure the chat's going crazy right now. But let's move along to our next question from Straight Wreckage LAT. Can you tell us what incentives where we have to switch out our non-taper Ethereum 1 nodes to a taper model in Service 2?
Well, it's an interesting thing. There will be incentives. I can't describe all of them. Basically, there's different things. If we're going to do a new token, for example, there may be some incentives for that. We're also looking at the idea of transferability of nodes. It's one of the things that's, as a matter of fact, this brings up something very, very important. One of the things that, we even have a video out in the last couple of weeks here that talks about, don't be fooled. Geez, we won't get fooled again. No, that's a song by The Who. It's all about making sure that you don't fall for it, that you don't let people get your private keys. And one of the things that's the most important out there is that it's very hard to make those changes. If you're talking about getting changes on the Ethereum mainnet right now, it's like, great, there is a way that you can go back and have all of your private keys back. All we have to do is we have to take all the miners in Ethereum and get them all to agree to go back to the point where you gave up your private keys, and then fork from there. And then all the transactions after that, of course, will be lost. And so it's just this teeny little thing, and that's the problem. And so my gosh, be safe out there. There's so many scammers. I mean, I go out there. We have a whole internal reporting team, and they're working with Google and Twitter and all sorts of other stuff. There are sites, several sites and Twitter accounts being taken down every day, and they're popping up faster than we can take them down. And they're using all sorts of really cool and clever things to be able to get you to click. And now first it was StrongBlock, now it's Strong B with a strong space block, so they'll get past the trademark stuff. There's just a lot of things that people will do. Really, really be careful. So your question, Straight Wreckage, what we're looking at is for the incentives to switch. Well, a lot of the stuff that we want to be able to do can't be done in the Service 1 contract. The Service 1 contract is pretty big. The gas is a little bit more expensive there because it's big. That's what gas is, just really about mathematical calculations and duration. And so the more stuff that's there, the more expensive it is. So one of the biggest incentives is there'll be a lot of other stuff that you can do on Service 2 and also on StrongChain that will allow you to be able to do migration and node transfer. And one of the big things that we're pretty excited about is the idea of being able to have a node marketplace. And I've been talking about that for a long time. We've actually built all the components now, and it's not like working on OpenSea. It's kind of expensive to do it on the Ethereum mainnet, and so it's much cheaper to do it on Service 2, and it'll be even cheaper to do it on StrongChain, and then the fees will go back to the community. And so those are probably the biggest incentives, but there'll be some other incentives there specifically for how you transition your stuff from if we have another token, then how you acquire that token and who gets that, who is able to get in early on that token, basically. there's an extraordinary amount of VC interest in the company, as you guys probably are figuring that out. I mean, we've done amazing things because of you over the last 14 months, and that's attracted a lot of interest in if we do anything along those lines also with VCs, and they are getting pretty excited about it. We also want to make sure that the community gets the first crack at a lot of those things, and so part of it will be, we have to build those like transitions and conversions and things like that. Those have to be done in a place where the gas just doesn't get astronomical, and so those are some of the incentives. Okay, Saul, next question, please.
Wow, it's very strong, exciting topics and very strong incentives as well. Moving on to our next question. Also, look at this from Nodes King 2021. What's the revenue forecast for StrongChain? How much revenue will it bring in? What will revenue be used for? Rewards, investment, etc. What will fees for transactions be comparable to other projects such as AVAX, Ethereum, Matic, etc.?
Wow, that's a lot of questions in one question. Well, as a protocol, we're a DApp on the Ethereum mainnet. We're already doing more transactions per day than most blockchains, and so there is revenue that will be there from just essentially doing that. The revenue from fees alone there, with everyone in the community being able to participate in validators and nodes, that alone is going to add that whole economic layer that we were talking about that allows other people to, everyone else to participate. So we're looking at other applications on StrongChain. We're looking at other places to invest. I wanted to talk about this. I brought this up in the last AMA, and what impermanent loss. Let's talk about impermanent loss, and let's talk about basically trusted third parties and counterparty risk. My gosh. Okay, so impermanent loss. Everybody, I wish I was in an audience, because I'd be walking in the audience right now. Everybody raise your hand and describe what's impermanent loss. Okay, impermanent loss is when you put your tokens into something that it's locked, and then you can't get them out because it's a yield farm and you're waiting for a certain thing to happen, but something happens with the token and it starts going down and you can't pull it out. And that's with LP tokens, right? Liquidity tokens that are on Uniswap and on some of the other DEXs, that you can suffer impermanent loss. You're putting them in at a certain rate and they're dropping down. Especially, you look at our Strong is tied pretty strongly to Ethereum because there's a bonded curve on Uniswap, and a good portion of, a significant portion of liquidity is over there on Uniswap. And so when you're looking at all of those things, you're looking at all the various fees. We can have different fees that we can get from all sorts of other stuff, but impermanent loss and other things for investments. We're talking about what does Strong do for rewards? Well, revenue will be used for rewards when we're moving into a the new chain, and Strong and the new token will still be very valuable there. We'll be doing some investments and things like that, but it's funny, it's some of the things that we found out. I guess it seems so interesting that you could have a validator, that you could ask people to be a validator on your chain, but the actual stuff that you get from the chain, the actual rewards you get from the chain just don't work unless you've got a massive amount of stuff. You know how those chains work? They actually have you, you can create a validator on the chain, and then you have to have a certain amount of tokens just to be able to do that. Then you can have tokens delegated to you, but the delegation of those tokens takes a cut of the percentage of rewards that you get, down to you're going to getting maybe 3 or 4% return. And 3 or 4% return just doesn't really get it a lot, unless of course you're investing like $100 million, and then maybe, let's see, well, that would be $3 million a year. That doesn't cut it either. In other words, the numbers don't pencil out. There's a lot of other things that you can do there. So when we're talking about revenue for rewards, investments and things like that, there are a lot of other opportunities that we can do once there's a chain that the community participates in, because there's so many places where different things can be, where different fees are being taken right now by Ethereum miners and some of the other things that are happening on any chain, especially the Ethereum chain, that can then go back to the community here, that alone will be pretty big. Other projects working on it, other different means of generating revenue, other people hosting things there, the marketplace, giving back some of the money from the marketplace alone, taking a marketplace of nodes and NFTs and other things like that. There's so many possibilities, but you don't have that opportunity unless you can move on there. So basically, there's a lot of opportunity there. So when we talk about, the question was the revenue forecast for StrongChain. It's like, well, we're like a lot of chains, we're looking to bring in, have a community and bring in a lot of people. The interesting thing is that we already have a big community. I'm looking at the numbers here. There's tells me there's 1,566 people. It's climbing here while we're talking. We got a big community here. There's a lot of things we can do. Wouldn't it be nice for everybody that's participating now not to give their fees to the Ethereum mainnet, but instead give them to StrongChain, and then have StrongChain literally have a model that gives it back to the community? That's what we're looking at. So Saul, next question, please.
Very powerful and great answer. I think it rolls very smoothly into this next question here from 11 Terrence Quanskena 33. How will a new token affect the OG Strong token? Can you go into detail about what being pegged and priced to each other means?
Well, that's again, these are great questions, and there's a lot of different scenarios we're modeling. We're looking at that. I can't disclose all of the stuff that we're doing, so I can't give you like what exactly what a peg would be. But the idea here is that we want those to coexist. But one of the things that happened, and I'm sure that there's probably, I think there's another question coming up that will go into this, but one of the things that we want to be able to do is make sure that we have, as a community, a token that can help us with sustainability. And one of the things that this token that we have right now has is an extremely small quantity. Why? Well, we started off with 10 million tokens. It says right there in the record on CoinMarketCap. I think in maybe it's at CoinGecko or CoinMarketCap, it actually still shows the 10 million with a little informational thing that you can click on and say, oh, well, a bunch of them were burned. That's not a very big supply. So there's no reason that we can't go out there and build another token that will help us with that supply. If you look at some of the other projects that are out there, the only difference that we have between them and our project is that they created a much larger supply. We reduced the supply at the time. It was the best thing to do that we felt for the community. Now the best thing to do is to open that up and make sure that there is a premium for being a strong holder, that holding strong and not doing as much claiming of your strong and everything like that, that will be rewarded. There will be ways to bridge over to a new token and continue to hold or continue to hold your old token. There will be a premium for people already in, people that are already holding. Well, gosh, this is where I've got the rest of the team, investors. I don't have any investors that I really just have board members and things like that. I don't have any investors that come and kick on me. We have minority shareholders, and so I get to make a lot of these decisions. But the thing that we're really looking at is having something that allows people to do a conversion if they want. Both tokens will have functionality and things that they'll be doing in a new chain, and you can use both. And if you decide you're going to do the conversion because you were here early, or you're currently let's say you have a node that you just started today, and you're saying, well, gee, am I gonna, it takes 90 to 100 days to break even. Wow, that's gonna be a lot. What's gonna happen to me when this all changes? Well, we got you covered. Everybody's covered here. We've really been thinking about this a lot. And this is what we do. We're really focused on making sure that there is a way to keep the strong token strong. Right now, the market is just, my gosh, the market is not very good. Remember, we started off a year ago. Was it a year ago? January 2021. What was the price, everybody? Wish I could go out in the audience here. Raise your hand. It was $13.90. Okay, well, so we also just only had maybe 1,000 or 2 nodes. There's a lot of stuff that's been happening in there in this period of time. And so we want to make sure that everybody gets to participate, everybody gets brought along here. Very, very important to us. And so when we're looking at the token moving and pegging, making sure that there's a way of supporting both tokens. We've been really working on that. We have some brilliant minds working on that. And we've also got, I have a few ideas of my own, but we've also been doing a bunch of different models, reviewing models this weekend again. And some of them are, we've already discarded a couple, but we really want to make sure that there's that there is sustainability for the community, and that we can keep this not only going, but expanding and thriving. The single biggest thing that we worry about right now is like, wow, well, the only thing that we don't have is a lot of tokens. And the way that Ethereum works, by the way, this is an ERC, Strong token is an ERC20 contract. It was written at the time you did not write any sort of proxy for it that would allow you to make any sort of changes, because it looked like you were going to maybe run off and do something. I think that we've pretty much proven we aren't going to be running off anywhere. But you just didn't do that. So the ERC20 token for Strong did not even have a burn or a mint or a rebase or any sort of components in it. You do it a little bit differently for mint and burn than you do for rebasing. You put different commands and controls and things in there. We didn't put any of that in there. It was just like, well, we're just 10 million, that's it. Okay, well, so wouldn't it be nice to have something that allowed you to be able to expand and to be able to have it expanded based on the amount of Strong that was already out there? Well, we've been looking for that, and that's the beauty of it, is that you can actually do that. So that's really what we're looking at, is trying to figure out the best way to make that happen so that everybody wins. And it's, we have a number of things that we're doing in transition as we move there. But yeah, it's so the whole question was, how will a new token affect Strong token? It's like, well, we'd like it to be, we'd like the Strong token to welcome in and the new community to welcome in the token, because it means more sustainability for the community, more sustainability for the app. But wow, that means that Strong's going to get more scarce, because it's going to be harder to get as we move forward. So I think we've got a pretty good crack at how we can do that, and we're also, again, want to move towards other things like governance and stuff. And so let's see, so I think that's what I need to say for that right now. Again, I wish, this is one of those things where I wish I could go into more details about what that would mean. That'll be coming up. We'll describe some of those in the light paper. There's some things that are not going to be in the light paper, by the way. There's some things that, just because people listen, there are a lot of people that there are a lot of people who have been so inspired. Let me put it this way: been so inspired by Strong blazing the trail and StrongBlock blazing the trail for nodes as a service with rewards. And now it's a category. It got recognized as a DeFi category. Who knew? I mean, wow. When I remember, I talked with one of my partners, the people that helped me found the company. I got to have a great long conversation. It's been a while since I've even had a conversation with them. The two partners, and they've just been amazed at how well this worked. They said, the same thing. It's like, who knew this would happen in this way, that we would create a whole category, that there'd be all these things out there. And so what we want to do is, we can't just lay everything out that we're going to do and exactly when we're going to do it, because if we do, guess what? Somebody's going to go out there and do the same pretty quickly. And what we found is people will go out there and do things pretty quickly that we've said that we're going to do, and then and in some cases we don't do them, and they go ahead and do them, and it's like, oops, well, we didn't do those for a reason. It's not because we're delaying because we have engineering issues. It's we got it done, and it doesn't work. It doesn't pencil out. It doesn't give people the rewards they thought, or there's counterparty risk. What is counterparty risk? Well, what if the other person just walks away? We were talking about earlier about what is impermanent loss. Counterparty risk is, how do you know you can trust the other person? I can trust a bank, I can trust Bitcoin, I can trust other things, but there's a lot of stuff that's just trustless. That's what the blockchain is. So do you take $1 million and put it into something when you're not really sure if it's, the counterparty risk is there? Have they audited their smart contracts correctly? Do they have potential leaks? Do they have other different actors in their community, or that have access to multi-sig keys, or that are a signer or a sole signer? Those are the things that come up in there. So anyway, that's it. Let's see. Are we up to the next question yet? I'm just talking here, so jump in.
I feel sometimes I should jump in, but everything you have to say is great. So, and from what I'm hearing from Robert, the chat is loving it. So who am I to stop it, right?
All right, well, go for it. Next question, please, sir.
So our next question from N-Man. If the reward pool is dry before Strong Chain is complete, is there a plan/process to fill it?
Yeah, that's a great question. And yes, there are a number of plans, and they don't require Strong Chain to be live. Some of them have to do with potentially with a new token. Some of them are some other moves that we've been talking about. There's some other tokens that are locked up there, and we'll be talking about that. I think there's a couple questions that are grouped together here next. But yes, velocity, the fact that things are cycling through so quickly, it's amazing, but it presents an interesting challenge for, how do we move things around? Some of them are automated, some of them are things we need to intervene directly with to make sure that there's no possibility of counterparty risk. Anyway, that's a pretty short answer. So yes, there are a number of plans to make sure that everybody keeps getting their rewards, and we've got them. We've got several that are going to be going out in the next couple of weeks. So next, that was fast. Next question, or questions. It looks like there's a couple that you've put together here, so I think they cover kind of the same thing.
Sure, more people will sleep easier tonight. Moving along to our next couple questions. As you said, I'm gonna group these two together. So from Brody Quest, we have, with StrongBlock's 10% allocation of each node made for future use, so far you have all earned 300,000 Strong tokens. Where have those gone? And Robin nodes, David Moss, can you explain all the way Strong is recycled into the ecosystem? We know the team has used Strong Coin that was set aside for, quote, future use and put it back into the rewards pool. Can the team inject available Strong from any source at any time?
Good questions, and the any source at any time. Let's go for the first part of this question, which is the tokens that have come in for future use. Is that the right amount? 10 out of, yeah, it's a fairly large amount. They're regularly recycled into the various rewards pools. The majority of tokens go back to the community in those rewards pools for rewards for nodes, for rewards for Strong Pool, etc. A few of them have gone to exchanges for liquidity. You are probably aware of that. Going to we have Strong that we have inside of that we provided liquidity for both Uniswap and also for KuCoin. And we also have some of that we've set aside reserves for other exchanges. And again, we have to be, Dave, I need to hit myself. It's don't talk about that. Okay. Can you explain all the ways Strong is recycled in the ecosystem? Okay. Lots of different ways. So here's the funny thing. There's a lot of Strong that's come in, a lot of Strong that's going out. Some has gone, a small amount has gone to marketing, because some of the marketing groups like DAOmaker, they basically are kind of taking us on as like they do a lot of projects, and they get a bit of Strong in their monthly fees because they like to see it go up just as much as everybody else does. And so that's the whole model, is to be able to give it back to the community. Now again, who knew it would grow this big, this fast? It's wonderful, but there's not a lot of supply, and so that's what we're working on the other side with a new token. And we need to even talk about, we've got some ideas about, if we have a new token, what's the new token's name? Oh my gosh, that's going to be a fun one, because we already have some ideas that I had from years ago that turned out to actually work pretty good in this situation. But let me talk about something here, and this is one of the things that really is kind of something that we talk in our teams and our groups a lot about, and you're looking at how economies work. And this is one of the things we're talking about, moving from a building to a city. The idea of having multiple different economies working and multiple things going in and out. You're all familiar with, if you're a, well, let's see, we've got people, I have kids that have worked in restaurants and various places like that. What happened during COVID? Well, most restaurants have enough free-floating cash to go for 20, maybe 30 days as a push. And what happened during COVID? Well, they didn't have enough cash. Couldn't just keep paying people because they weren't plating dinners. They had 100 dinners they had to do per day, and if they didn't hit 100 dinners, they were still having problems, and they're already paying people ridiculously low minimum wages to be able to do that, which is why so many people are getting into crypto and doing other things like that as well. And so same thing happens with Netflix. Same things happen. Facebook. What happened with Facebook a couple of weeks back? Y'all remember? Facebook, oh yeah, they didn't have as many new subscribers coming in. Why is that? Well, there's all sorts of different reasons, but you can't just endlessly have new subscribers coming in. You got to plan for something else. That's what we've been focusing on. And you look at that with mortgages. I talked with one of our team. His wife works in the mortgage industry, has for years, and said that if the banks don't have 12% basically 12% growth of new mortgages coming in per year, then they start to go negative as well. So Netflix, Peloton, anybody you can think of out there who depends on new things happening and new people coming in and doesn't plan for the future, it's for us, and we've known this all this time. We've been working on this for quite a while, and so there's a lot of different ways to be able to do this, and there's different kinds of things, and I'll give a hint at some of those things. Just like having restricted pools, only a certain number of people can ever participate. Then it's locked, and then the only thing you can do is trade a node. Oh my gosh, I said that out loud. Hopefully I won't get have our advisors get upset. That's one of the things that we're working on, but. Every model out there has a reliance. The economy has a reliance on new people coming in. Your local store, restaurants, any business, gyms, anything out there. Look at all the things that have closed because new people weren't coming in. Yes, it's a problem. How do you solve that? Well, what if you are what if you're the group that owns the real estate and you're building on the real estate and you have all these different economies that are going on there? It's one of those things. I grew up in Oregon. In Oregon, one of the things that we always used to talk about is Oregon did not have a diversified economy. And part of that was because Oregon wasn't a particularly diverse place, and there was a lot of reasons for that. But it was always built on what it's called the timber economy. And it never really recovered from that. It didn't diversify. I moved to California quite a while ago, decades ago, and I was traveling down here all the time before then to work because there's so much great stuff in San Francisco and Los Angeles. But one of the things that I found was that, wow, the economy here is ridiculously diverse. And so even though there are problems in one sector, there are all sorts of different other sectors you can work in. I was a CTO in a bunch of different sectors. I could always find work in Southern California because it had a diverse economy with all sorts of things going on. And so that's just the general idea of the economy. And we started about, strong chain and strong coin and future use and what we're doing with the tokens, but basically how you do all this stuff and how you take those things and move them around. You got to have a diversified economy. How do you get a diversified economy? Well, you don't rent on someone else's land. You get your own land, you build things out, you build the infrastructure, you build cities, okay? Wow, I've really talked that one a lot. This is what's on my mind, folks. So I just want to make sure that you understand where I'm coming from here, because we spend a lot of time thinking and going through ideas, and some of them become actual projects that we start working on. Then we go, yeah, this isn't going to really work. So let's shelve it and maybe come back to it. Okay, so Saul, let's get to the next question.
Wow, great answer. Definitely felt some tweets flying in the middle of that one. Felt the disturbance in the 5G, if you know what I mean. So moving on here, our next question from Strong Kaneki. Strong chain being a large focus for revenue for the Strong community, what other projects are interested in joining, knowing that we currently have over 300K nodes for stability?
That's a great question. Thank you. We're looking at a number of different things. We're talking with different people that have approached us, and we had people approach us way back when we were doing blockchain as a service, and that was kind of something that just, interestingly enough, didn't really take off. And now, it's like, it seems pretty obvious that people would need lots of different blockchains for doing different things. But the revenue, talking with the other projects, they want us to participate with nodes. They want us to participate with validators. For them, we want them to, we want apps on our site. We want apps to be built, dApps to be built on top of the Strong chain. We're looking at NFTs. We're going to start off by building some of the things that we think need to be there. There are a number of different things. At one point, way back when we first started all this stuff, we built a DEX. We built all these other different kinds of things. We may or may not go that route because there's so many good projects out there, but we're also looking at security and sustainability and other things like that. But there are so many different things that can be built out there, and there are a number of projects that would love to have a home in a place where there's already a great built-in, enthusiastic and loyal community. And so, yeah, we're talking with a lot of different companies and projects like that, and they're all very excited about it. Can't disclose who they are, and some of them never happen. Some of them you talk with them and it seems all wonderful and like you're dating this wonderful girl and she's just the perfect girl. You're dating this wonderful guy and he's the perfect guy, and all of a sudden you just find out that it just doesn't work because he really, really likes Star Wars and you hate Star Wars, or opposite, or there's all sorts of different things that come up, and maybe somebody has a favorite actor or actress that you just can't stand. Those things happen in real life, and they happen here too. Sometimes we've had so many discussions. I talk with a lot of different groups, and some of them it just really okay, well, talk to us when you have a chain. That's one of the things I've been hearing the most in the last 6 months. Talk to us when you have a chain. We'd love to build there. So next question, Saul.
Exciting foundation for Strong Chain. Moving right along here. From Mr. Sancho, given that many, quote, node projects claim to have real nodes due to RPC endpoints, is there any other way we can verify our strong nodes are real? I don't know what to tell the haters. I would appreciate clarification. Thanks, David.
Well, okay, RPC endpoints. Basically, what is an RPC endpoint? It's what you get in default when you get a MetaMask wallet, for example. Did you know that basically for Infura, most likely, well, I don't need to go into their business model, but Infura does not disclose how they go about doing their infrastructure. We run our infrastructure almost exactly the same way that Infura runs theirs. So we have all the RPC endpoints, we have all the capacity, we have different load balancing and capacity things that we do to be able to accommodate all the nodes that we have, and all of them have RPC endpoints. When you get MetaMask wallet, it's got a built-in RPC endpoint. That's how you communicate with the mainnet. What is that? Well, it's Infura. Why is it Infura? Why, when you got a Microsoft computer, did it have several different things built into it? Well, they make agreements behind the scenes, and so it's one of the things we're working on the revenue side. But on the RPC side, well, every one of the nodes out there has a unique RPC endpoint, and we have all sorts of ways of making it so that you can use those. You can harness a whole bunch of them in a load balancer. There's a bunch of things you can do with that. But basically, think of it like Infura. It's the same thing that they're doing, and we really, there's some really good architecture that we've done as well that we think makes us a bit more reliable. But that's one of the things we want to be able to do is expand that out as well. So that's probably the best thing I can say about RPC endpoints and stuff, is that when you say they're real, it's like, well, are you using them for your wallet? You can switch your wallet to your own RPC endpoint from one of your nodes at any time, and you get to connect to the Ethereum mainnet and do all the other stuff with it. And so that's really what that's for right now. In the future, on Strong Chain takes a much bigger role. Next question, Saul.
Moving straight along as we're running a bit short on time here.
Yeah.
From disorderly New York, is there a sustainability mechanism in place to protect from large sell-offs and or not enough new nodes being created? And what the current sustainability at these rewards / price in terms of runway length? Love the project. Stay strong.
Well, it's a difficult question with I love the project. Stay strong. I appreciate it. Disorderly in New York. We're designing new sustainability mechanisms. The sell-off thing is just like, well, people are going to sell when they're going to sell. But what we're doing for a new token and for StrongChain is provide mechanisms that will allow people to be able to have better incentives for holding, better incentives for staking, better incentives for converting. And so that's one of the biggest issues that you run into with any project is if you just have one thing for people to do, make new nodes, then there's eventually you've got to have other things for people to do. So yeah, we've got a lot of those things that are coming up, and can't do anything about markets and prices and things like that, but we right now have an extraordinary number of people who can keep putting, making new nodes. We want to be able to provide other things for them to make, participate in, contribute to, stake, mine, all sorts of other stuff like that. So essentially, yeah, we've that's like I think I've addressed some of the stuff with the StrongChain stuff that we're talking about, new stuff. And again, I wish I could go into all the details here. Some of these things we have to finish them up and vet them. Some of the things you'll see them when they come out. We're working on them. We've got to be fairly careful about not letting all the cats out of the bag. I mean, I'm a big fan of Steve Jobs, and they were pretty specific about getting out when they got a new Apple phone or a Mac, especially the phone. It's like you could not find any new information on those phones. And it was because everybody would go out there and copy those things and try to beat them to the punch. Yeah, that's not going to happen. So, but you'll get stuff. We still want to make sure that you know what we're doing, that we're working on something. This is all that we're doing. We're not sitting around, sitting on our asses. Well, we have to sit on our asses, but we're not sitting around. Actually, we've got a couple people who have standing desks now. I'm thinking about getting one myself. But we're not just sitting around. This is all we do. All we're working about is the sustainability here. This is really exciting times for us in being able to build this out. So next question, Sewell, so we can keep moving along here.
Great work, great vision. You love to hear it. Moving right along with C-Man's question. Since it's happened a few times now, what is causing the claiming issues and how are they being addressed for the future?
Cycling. That's claiming is cycling, is that there are rewards in different places, and we have a community wallet, and there's also other Strong out there, and it's cycling through the project so fast that in some cases, some of the rewards buckets have to be replenished faster than people are taking the rewards out. Does it mean that there aren't rewards? Just means that there's some things there. We have a series of different cron jobs. Some jobs require multi-sig, and so multi-sig is hard to put into a cron job, and so there's some things that we need to make sure that we're able to do. And so yeah, but we have some other supply things we're going to be doing in the interim. Like I said, we're talking about in the next couple of weeks, we have some untapped supply that we can put in there, but that will also help a bit with what we're working on here. Next question.
Great news! I can hear the knuckles unclenching. Our next question from Tree Talks. Is there any indication of when the pay for pending rewards option will be available for polynodes?
It's already built. It's been tested. It's ready to go. We have not deployed it. We're determining the best sequence to release a whole bunch of new features and ones that we can release before we get the move to StrongChain, and how we go about doing that. So that's one of the a lot of the engineering around going. I guess I internally it was labeled as claim routing. A lot of the engineering around claim routing is already done, and it goes in with migration and transfers and things like that. And I wanted to say one thing really quickly about that. So pay with pending, yeah, it's ready to go. We just have to figure out when we're going to release it. And then the other part of it is node transfers. like I said, be careful out there. We're going to be offering some sort of features that will allow you to do this stuff, but my guess is that anything that we need node transfer to be able to have a node marketplace. We can have it represented by NFTs or all sorts of other things like that. But my gosh, if your wallet's compromised and somebody has access to it, then they're going to want to use that feature as fast as you can. And you can try to erase them if they're using, if you guys know what flash bots are, and there's all sorts of other stuff that can happen. But my gosh, it's an endemic problem in blockchain crypto wallets. So anyway, pay with pending. Coming soon, already ready to go. Just trying to figure out the best timing because we got some big things planned. Okay, next question.
No shortage of exciting things today. Moving along. Second question from Strong Kaneki, popular guy today. With the release of Strong Chain, will there be an early adopter's chance to buy the token before it hits any major exchanges?
Yes. Okay, next question. There will be options to convert. There's all sorts of stuff. This is what we've been really looking at, is we've been running some pretty complex models. We want to make them as simple as possible. But yes, I think I mentioned that earlier on, so it kind of maybe foreshadowed this question. There will be an opportunity for everybody who's already here to participate. That's what we're doing, making sure that you get in there first. That's on the top of our mind. So I think this is our last question.
Yeah, this is the last question. Since the last AMA, what has been the biggest win at StrongBlock? Any obstacles that you guys faced in the same time frame? This question is from S-Man.
Well, S-Man, you picked a great question to go out on. It's kind of like the encore song. You go out there and you sing your hit. Your big hit that everybody was waiting for all concert. So, biggest obstacles for us, they're always time and priorities. It's like there's so many different things that we could do. What's the right thing to do? What are the variables? What are the factors? We have to consider supply, we have to consider sustainability, we have to consider the community, we have to consider whether or not something will affect something else, and whether or not people will be affected, and how many people would be affected, and what's the right way to go about doing stuff. So that's the biggest obstacle always. We have lots of resources now. We have a whole outsourced group that I've worked with over the years, probably over the last 3 or 4 years, and so we've actually got, I think, a dozen people there working on some of these new things that we're doing, and so we've got plus our core team, and so part of that is, so it's always a challenge in our space to find sustainable ideas. So that's one of the big obstacles, is, are ideas sustainable? If you guys have been following some of the other projects out there, the whole idea of vaults and bonds and treasuries and all the other stuff was really, really fashionable, just like having a non-mint, non-burn ERC20 contract and burning all of your tokens. Those were all fashionable. And we did some of those things that were quote unquote fashionable, but not because they were fashionable, but it was just the right thing to do at the time. But coming up with sustainable ideas is really what our obstacle is, always that, and especially in the last couple of weeks. And we work on meta ideas. And one of the things I always like to refer to, and some of you have probably heard this before, and it's an obscure book. I read it in university, and I don't necessarily recommend doing it. It's a book called Structure of Scientific Revolutions, The Structure of Scientific Revolutions by Thomas Kuhn. It is the basis for almost all paradigmatic science thinking right now, and it describes scientific shifts that happen when enough evidence emerges that the current paradigm no longer explains things. In science, it happens over decades, sometimes even centuries. In crypto, happens over months, even weeks, sometimes a couple of days. And so our approach is to look at the paradigms, the shifting, where things are going, and look inside of them to see if they're sustainable, or what somebody who's doing this might have missed that we see from the outside. And we could just keep coming up with these little things. As a matter of fact, what we found from this is there are some things that maybe will trend for 2 weeks, and we can get it up and running, and it will be valuable to the community, and everybody can participate, and nobody will get aped out or rug pulled or left holding bags or anything like that. If there's those kinds of small projects, especially in Strong Chain, then we'll get to do those. And so those are the things that we are both obstacles, but are also some of the biggest wins. Is that the more we think meta, the more we think a city with all sorts of infrastructure and all these things that can go up, pop-up restaurant, only there for 2 weeks, or we're only there for 2 nights. There's all sorts of things that you can do that would be fun. You can find out whether or not people want to keep doing them. Are there bigger ways that we can do it? Or is it only sustainable for a small group of people for a short period of time? Those are the things that we're thinking about all the time. So it's the paradigm shift breakthroughs that we're always working on. A bunch of them have happened over the last, so far this year, as we've been meeting and working on that stuff. And some of those things are going to make their way into the light paper, but some of them we're just going to kind of keep out there. So the big win, we believe that we've come up with, it's not just in the last 2 weeks, but especially since the last AMA, we want to make sure that strong stays strong. That's it. And so being able to make sure that what you're doing right now in the community and what you're doing for nodes and what you're doing for participating and helping other people out, which I see a lot of. I think that's just amazing when people are actually helping people out, not saying, hey, I can help you out, just send me your seed phrase. If they say that, oh my God, please don't. And again, all seriousness, please don't. I don't want to kid about that at all. That is so darn serious. Really seriously. I know I try to be a very optimistic person, but that's one of the most serious things out there is protect yourself. Protect yourself, protect your family, protect your family's investment. Please be extra careful. Measure twice, cut once is our CPO's favorite saying. He's also a carpenter. Do that, make sure. So we believe that right now, all the people that are participating are going to get to participate in the growth and prosperity of us moving to a new chain. The community gets to do that. We can navigate everybody there. We can help that navigation. We can build our own city. We can have all sorts of things going on in there. The fees can now go back. We're building our house, building our house on our own property. And we think that that's the big breakthrough, that at a certain point it just becomes inevitable. Why would you not do this with this big of a community and this popular of an application? Why would you not do it? That ends up being the if you've ever read Immanuel Kant, it's a categorical imperative now. We have to do this. It's what the community needs for sustainability. So this wonderful thing that kind of grew out of just a simple idea that I had a couple of years back, all of a sudden is really working for a lot of people. So that's it. We're a little bit after 8 o'clock here, and I know other people have other things to do to get on with their day. So Sol, I don't know if you have any things to say going out, or if you just want to, if you want to wrap it up, and then I can say goodbye and thank you.
Well, mostly just want to say, thank you for coming on. A lot of people have been I want to say requesting, but demanding for the Voice AMA. So it's wonderful to have you here, to have everyone's requests obliged, to just be reaffirmed, to hear the community-centric message, and to know that everyone is at the forefront of your thoughts, and that community strength is strong strength.
Yeah, I really appreciate you putting this together too. I know that you and Robert do a lot of work in the community and during the week, and you're pinging me with stuff all the time. And thanks for putting together the questions, and thanks to the community for the questions. They're hard questions, and they're the things that are on your minds. The things that are on your minds are the things that are on our minds. We want this, we look into the future, we want this to succeed even more than it's already succeeded. This is such an amazing thing that we've all done together. So glad that everybody's here for this amazing ride. We're looking at, as I said, building this out even more. I'm just really happy and excited that everybody's here. I'm so grateful to be able to talk. I think that it's one of the things, the only thing that I'm trying to figure out how you even do this. It's like, how do you do something in the age of COVID where I can get up on a stage? And if you've seen videos of me doing stuff, go look for one that I did at UCLA back in because I've spoken at a bunch of universities around the world, but also, of course, I live in LA. So but I spoke at UCLA back in, it must have been 2017 or 2018. And I got up off the stage, jumped off the stage, ran into the audience, and made everybody on the row seats a block producer so I could explain how block production and mining works. Okay, I miss that. I love being out there. I love interacting with people. The only thing that would make this better is if we could do a bit more interaction, and we'll look at ways to do that. And maybe it's just we have some sort of a broadcast thing that we can do where people can actually be actually come in and participate. Maybe we call you up on the stage and we can talk, ask questions. Looking forward to doing more of that, and we'll keep communicating and doing stuff. And thanks so much again, everybody, for being here today. It's really a pleasure. I hope that you got something out of it. I hope it answered some of your questions. I can't answer all of them, but I really appreciate just everything that you all do, being part of the community. And thank you. Mahalo. Be mindful. Be understanding. Be a friend. Be a good family member. And understand that a lot of people are going through a lot of stuff right now. And with all the stuff that's going on in the world, with war, as they say, the war and the rumors of war. Stay safe. And be careful. And
well, thank you very much, David. I know the community is very grateful to have you on board here and to come and talk to us every time. So thanks for that.
Thanks, Daniel. Really appreciate it. And Wealth Nash, I see you there too.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for all the work that you do as well.
All right. Well, you take care, guys.
All right. Take care, everybody. Have a great weekend. Be optimistic.
Yes, big thank you to everybody. Thank you to listeners. Thank you for David coming in. Thank you for Daniel for so much work behind the scenes. Thank you to Robert for so much work behind the scenes again. I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Be safe.
Bye-bye. Take care.